Hello class, and here in this week, I'm going to give you a challenge suite, which is really just reviewing some of our basic Excel skill sets that we've learned along the last several weeks. I'm not covering all of them, but take a moment and view this challenge suite video and then see that you can complete some of these basic skills yourself. I'm going to have this document that you see before you attached here to this posting. You'll want to open, download, and save this Excel data file, and then you can follow along and complete the challenge. So let's begin. The first skill set we're going to quickly look at is changing the column widths. So for example, here in column B, I can see that some of my text is cut off, and the column is not wide enough to contain all of the data. As a review reminder, we can change our column widths by selecting anywhere in the column that we're seeking to adjust. On the Home tab in Excel, we're going to want to note that we have all of our various panels for clipboard, font, alignment, number, style, cells, and editing. Now here in the Cells panel, in the Format pull-down arrow, you'll select Column Width. When you select Column Width, for just an example, change the column width of column B to 11.5 and then select OK. Now you'll note that I still have some text cut off. I can make my column a wider width, but for the next skill set we're going to review, I'm going to select all of the data here in column B in rows 4 through 20. I'm now going to use wrap text. Let's review that now. On the Home tab in the Alignment panel, you'll find the tool for wrap text. When you select wrap text, you'll see that this wraps my text so it's now in 2 columns if needed, 1 column if it's not needed. Watch as I now manually adjust column B. As I manually adjust it, you'll see that my wrap text will apply if and when needed. Apple computers, I've wrapped the text. So again, in my Home tab, I can select Wrap Text, and where needed, where text would be cut off, I am now able to wrap that so it's not cut off for me. The next skill we're going to review is Cell Styles. In row 3, in columns A through K, I want to select that value and I want to change the style so that this is not in a basic font, but I can give it a heading. On the Home tab, in the Styles panel, click on the Cell Styles pull-down arrow and select Heading 3. You'll see that now adjusts and changes my headings so that they stand out a little nicer compared to all my data. The next skill set we're going to review is orientation. Again, in row 3, in columns A through K, I will select all the data there. On the Home tab, in the Alignment panel, if I hover my cursor over the tools, I can locate the Orientation tool. In the pull-down arrow, I have options for how I want to orient my text. I'm going to select a counterclockwise, and this allows me to format these headings so if I want them angled, I can easily do so. The next skill we're going to review is on our sum function. So I'm looking at share. I'm going to look at actually Well, I'll add up shares. So we're going to add column E to see the total value of all of the shares of stock for all of these different companies. So in column E, I want to use addition or the sum function. All functions begin with an equal sign. And I can manually come through and select E4, and then I can use the plus sign on my keyboard and select E5 and the plus sign, and then select E6 and the plus sign, and I can continue down the column. You can see my formula up here in the formula bar. And I'm now just continuing to select each one of these items that I'm seeking to add. As I continue all the way down, you'll see that this is a long process to enter in to add all of the data here for column E. It can be done this way for sure. When I ultimately am done, I can hit the enter or return key on my keyboard. Oops, I made a little typo. So I can enter and hit the enter or return key on my keyboard. Additionally, for this challenge suite, we're going to simply use the sum function. And for the sum function, I am simply looking to add all the data from cells E4, and I'm looking to add all the way to E20. End my parenthesis, and I'll select the enter key on my keyboard. And that will supply me with the addition. So you saw the long way to do it, and you see the use of using the sum function. So in the challenge suite, in column A, you'll add up all of the data from rows E4 through E20. Now let's quickly just look at the subtraction. And you'll see here in column F where I put, we're going to look to take the Google shares minus the Walmart shares. Here in my data, I see I have the Google shares here, which is here in E8, and I'll locate the Walmart shares, which I see that's here in E18. So here in column F, all functions start with the equal sign. And I am simply now looking to take E8, a minus sign to subtract, by E18. And then I'll just simply hit the enter or return key. The reason I'm showcasing this is we have arithmetic operators where we can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. Not all functions start with the word sum. That's only when we're adding. Now let's look at one last skill set to review, the if function. Here in column F, the first thing I want you to do is actually apply a style to column F, row 3. In your Home tab, in the Styles panel, click on the pull-down arrow next to Cell Styles. You can actually add a color or shade here to accent and fill that in. So select a shade here for column M, row 3. Now in column M, row 4, we're actually going to write and create the if function. All functions begin with, we know, an equal sign. I'm using the if function, so I'm going to say if. Now I'm going to follow that with an open parenthesis. I want to know that if here, any one of these stocks in column F, the price, if it's above 100, I don't want to buy it. If it's under $100, I want to buy that. So I'm going to write an if statement. So I'm looking at if, and here I'm looking at F4. So I'll simply type in if F4 is greater than 100, followed by a comma sign. I'm going to put in quotations, don't buy, and in quotes. After my quote, I have a separator, which I enter a comma there. And now in quotes, else. So I have if it's greater than 100, don't buy. If it's under 100, else, I will say buy. End my quote and close parenthesis. I'll simply now hit the enter or return key on my keyboard, and you can see automatically the result of buy has returned. Because this value in F4, it's not over $100. And remember my function in my if statement, I said if it's over 100, we don't want to buy. If it's under 100, we want to buy. So 64.59 is under 100. That's why we returned the buy. Let's walk through one more example. I start with my function with an equal sign. I'm using the if statement. In my parentheses, I'm now going to put in what they call the logical test. So what column and row am I looking at? Again, I'm looking at F5 here. So if F5 is greater than 100, I'm going to have a comma to separate. Now, what's going to happen? So if F5 is indeed greater than or more than $100, what do I want to happen? Inside my quotes, I'm going to tell it what's going to happen. And I'm going to say, don't buy if it's over 100. So that's in quotes. After my quotes, I have a comma. And now I'm going to say, otherwise or else, if it's under 100, in my quotes, I type buy. End my parentheses. Hit the enter or return key on your keyboard, and the value is returned. The last skill to review for this challenge suite is the fill handle. I'm going to select here M5. In the lower right-hand corner, I see the solid square fill handle. When I roll my cursor over that, you'll see it changes to a solid black plus sign. I'm going to simply depress the left click on my mouse. With that depressed down, I'm going to drag it straight down all the way to end in row 20. When I release my left click, the formula has automatically updated, so my if function has translated through all of these rows. Here I see in M8, don't buy, because here the initial price share, $3.90, it's over 100, and that's why it returned the value of don't buy. Here, for example, in M15, my price per share is over 100, and that's why it returned the value of don't buy. So anywhere where I see don't buy, I see my stock is more than $100 per share. Everywhere where it's under $100, that's where we see the buy. This is just a simple example of reviewing and reminding about the if function that we see. You'll want to complete this challenge suite, save your document with your name, and attach it to your discussion post. Again, this is a helpful reminder of just some of the basic skills we've covered in applied spreadsheets so far. Now the question is, who's willing to take on this challenge? I look forward to seeing your challenge suite projects.